Hello, hello, hello. Microphone check. Everything seems to be in order. Mhm. Hello, Baldrick's Turnip. How are you doing today? Thank you very much. You're welcome, welcome. Zdravo, привет, and so on and so forth. Hello, everyone who is watching or listening. Hope I'm doing thank you. Yes, well, overall, yes, I'm doing better. If I would compare it to a month before that, but it's life, ups and downs. For me, currently, the work amount is extremely low. It's about a zero. So other than that, everything is good. Hello, last one 207. Welcome. So yes, overall things are fine in life and family and so on and so forth. Everything seems good right now. But with regards to current living, today is a good day apart from being a holiday, which is quite interesting, and I will be talking about it, what my thoughts are and so on. And today in Serbia, here, it's fine. It has fine air, like really fine. And a couple of days in a row, it was pretty horrid, barely breathable. So it's a good thing, and things are starting to flower. So it's beautiful and nice, and always going well in that regard. So other than that, yeah, the road is bumpy. So today I was and am going to talk about the Women's Day, and to all the women that are listening, my congratulations and respect. Yes, today is Mother's Day, Women's Day. It's called different things in Russian, and mostly I will be speaking from my standpoint, what I've heard and felt. Thank you. But yeah, so I was interested in what does it actually mean, this holiday, and how it came to life. What happened? In my opinion, before I've did some research, I've had an understanding that I've developed over the just simply course of life, and what people told me, and what I took in, that it had some relation with women's, I don't know, freedoms, I guess. And in Russia, this day is considered multiple things. It's called International Women's Day, and on my last podcast we were talking with Ilya, and I frankly didn't know what to say about it, because it really is considered international, but for some reason I had this feeling that it's not like really international in some way. Anyway, so today is this day, and I've did a tiny bit of research on this topic, and it was interesting. And what I found out, so overall, this is maybe some people knew it, or whatever, but that's general information, and that it's a Women's Rights Day, and apparently it started about 100 years ago, like almost exactly 100 years ago, and excuse me. So the main person behind this was considered Clara Zetkin, a German woman. But the main idea was that back in 1910 and 1908 and 1912 and 17, at the time of the most intense demonstrations that happened, which did happen, they almost engulfed the whole world, like a wave of freedom movements for women's rights. Then I guess the main idea was that they would become as men, at least equal to men in all regards. So voting and positions in work place, positions of power, and so on and so forth. Of course, other things that came up which were additional, not the main point. But the main point was this: voting and work opportunities to be the same as for men. So 100 years ago that was, and now it's considered something else. It feels as if it's something else. The question was why? Why did it change? And it's maybe because women are allowed to vote, and they're, at least documentally, they are allowed to work any job they want in most of the world. And so it's normal that things would change with regards to this day. And this day is the 8th of March, is not the global holiday. And even in the countries that it is considered a holiday, not every single country makes it a national holiday, like free from work, which is also very interesting. I don't know why exactly, but it's how it happens. So I have this map. I will show it to you. I hope everything switches when I press the buttons. Let me check. Yeah, it's working. Okay, so we have this map of countries that celebrate this holiday, and we have Russia, of course, and in red we have countries that celebrate it as a national free from work day for everyone. So we have Russia and Mongolia, Kazakhstan, and I won't even go into the whole list of the countries that are here, but also we have countries in yellow that do celebrate this holiday, but there is no free day for it. Everyone is working like it's normal, but for some reason it's somehow considered a holiday, which is debatable, I guess. But I don't know. For me, for example, it seems important to show that the country itself supports it, that it's an important day. You have to make it free from work, I guess. Of course, not every single person is free from work, but I don't know. I guess it's debatable. And the most interesting thing, I guess, would be orange. So orange, as you can see here, is China and a couple of other countries as well. A handful, literally. One in Europe as well. Countries where women would have only women would have their work time at least cut in half, such as in China, for example. I don't know, that's just the facts, and me thinking about it all, it's I don't know, it's interesting how the very same things handled a bit differently. And of course, as last one, 207 says here, that not every single country has this holiday at exactly 8th of March, I'm sorry. So there was it's not like it's not universal, this holiday. It's not exactly like a global holiday, but for some reason it's a multinational, I guess, if we would translate it from Russian to English. Another interesting thing, so quick recap. The first countries that would actually make it a holiday were socialist countries, and there at the time were quite a bit of those. And on the map right now, almost all of the countries that we see, like most of them, are or were socialist back at the time. So that raised some questions. I mean, if I learned a couple of things before even that research happened about women's rights, and I myself I believe that it's the things that they are right now, it's of course way better than it was previously. Can we improve from it? I don't think that, not really in law, in the world of law, that we can improve something. I actually feel like there are a couple of things that need to be more relaxed. But overall, I guess things are the way they should be, I guess. Not to sound conservative. Anyway. But back to the topic of history. Socialist countries. And I was thinking, okay, 1908 was the first beginning of these demonstrations, which the first one actually happened in the United States, apparently, that women in New York, if I remember correctly, started protesting against the low quality of work environment. So that happened, and then a couple of years later in Europe and in Germany, things started to happen and brew, and from there they started just ravaging through the entire Europe and Asia as well. And the reason why socialist countries is apparently because, so there was this guy that I've heard about before. His mommy is on the Red Square, which is kind of interesting. I've seen him once when I was a child, and it was open for people to see. It was kind of weird, but you know, as a child, it was interesting to look at a mummy. Come on, like, it's possibly one of the best things a child could possibly do. And so this guy is still there, and Lenin was a big person in the news and in the world back at that time. And he apparently used women's rights movement and the feelings and anger of people that existed at the moment to channel his political agenda through. So the moment this movement came into Russia, he started riding this theme like a wave. He was helping with the demonstrations, and as well as destructions and attacks on buildings, you know, and so on and so forth, which he did quite a lot anyway. And I don't know, this is so strange how all of this intertwined. So as well, what happened was the fact that it was in Russian Empire at the moment, and the emperor gave in to these demonstrations, allowing women to vote and so on. And this had no effect. These demonstrations continued. They started intertwining in Russia very intensely with Soviet propaganda as well. So one of the things, that Soviets did, I guess, give to the world, if we would, or push to the world, I would rather say, was the fact that we are all equal. At least their idea, their general idea was about that. So the effect was extremely intense. You could see how the minds of people were not just expanded by the idea that everybody could, like, we are all brothers and we all love the same, and so on. Now women had the same opportunities, and yeah, that's interesting. Catching up with the chat right now. Hello, Zoe. March in Sydney, Australia isn't a big deal here in Australia. We really celebrate events only if a public holiday warrants it. Yeah, I guess this is what I was talking about. Yes, also some companies would arrange some kind of dinners, picnics, even tourist trips for their female employees. My mother and back then teenage sisters got a trip to London, late 70s that was. That's interesting. That sounds really, really interesting. This topic of women's rights is very controversial, and especially as what I see in Canada and America happening right now. And of course it has shifted quite a bit from women towards trans and LGBT plus Q, I don't know what was it, and a bit away from women, which is I guess not the best way for things to happen in my books anyway. But this, as I said, topic is very hot, and people tend to get really hot-headed because of that, and would take words out of context. LGBTQ plus. Yeah, I think there were a couple of more letters that were added recently, like non-binary and so on and so forth. And let's not talk about that, because once again they will steal their spotlight from women. Anyway, yes, so I could completely understand that the whole goal of women back at the time, it was a completely different time. I could hardly imagine it, but in some ways I still can. And women not being allowed to vote just because they are women I guess it's a no-brainer for me, but I always have to think if I got all the letters. It's actually the biggest thing on TV. I think it's for rating. Ah, Furies. Yes, okay. Yeah. So back on the topic of this international. So Lenin started this whole thing. He used this revolution, integrated it with women's rights, and it exploded quite literally multiple ways, as you might want to read in Wikipedia, that at least how much explosions actually happened. But this is the reason why it's mostly those socialist, ex-socialist countries that have this celebration happening. So I was reading through that. The next thing I stumbled upon was how would I call it? It's like an article in a in a magazine that was quite popular in Russia. This article was published in 2008. And it had like it has been cited in citation, I don't know. Yes, I guess cited in this Wikipedia page. So this is how I found it. So there was some information about that not everyone thinks that the way things are currently with regards to this this celebration of 8th of March is going well. Anyway, I'll just read it, I guess, out loud. Natalia Radulova writes this. For a long time, I could not figure out why they congratulate me on March 8th. Well, how, my classmates told me, it's the beginning of spring, holiday of love and beauty. I shrugged my shoulders. Let me also sign a card for you in this case. You are very pretty. The boys were mortally offended. Do you want it in the eye, Radulova? It's Women's Day, isn't it clear? Unclear. What's with Women's Day? What is it? A bath? Some strange custom is to congratulate a person once a year on the fact that he has a certain genital? He has certain genitals. Congratulations, you're a girl. Yes, I actually know, thanks. I also wanted to understand why on that day Soviet men suddenly began to wash dishes, fry scrambled eggs, and some even wash the stubble from the sink. Everyone knew perfectly well that on March 9th the guys would immediately forget all these skills. And only when I found out what Clara Zetskin meant, everything finally fell into place. Clara, it turns out, put forward the idea of uniting women from all over the world in the struggle for complete equality with men. That is, the Day of Solidarity of Working Women of the World can be called the birthday of feminism. In any case, in the USSR. But what's the bottom line? As a result, our men got excited and took matters in their own hands. We bought flowers on March 8th, cooed affectionately. Don't even go into the kitchen today, my love. You'll have 364 more days to do your homework. Got the knack of toasting. To the ladies here, having lengthy conversation about female weakness and insecurity and giving professional advice to female colleagues. Stay as charming. Men managed to completely replace the essence and meaning of the day on March 8th. But the women, by the way, did not resist. Forgetting about the solidarity and ideas, they got an absolutely anti-feminist Women's Day, which further reinforces gender inequality. For many decades in a row, our citizens have been smiling on a cold spring day, listening to compliments about their weakness, good presentation, and the ability to serve. So the translation is a bit off, but and they think this is the holiday. I hope I didn't butcher it in the translation, but so as I was reading through this in Russian, it sounds a bit differently. I was thinking, like, there are a couple of things that triggered me, I have to say. Let's start from the top, I guess. So yes, in Russia, how it feels as it's just Women's Day. Like, it's not the day of women's rights and freedoms and day of equality and so forth. This is not a day of celebration of Clara Zetkin or a day of celebrating feminism, which I guess is what she's talking about, that the meaning of the day was lost. But what's the problem with it? And of course, feminism, the fanatic feminists would yell like, of course you're the man, you're a man, you would do things and say that it's normal and that's good, that it's the way. Yeah, I guess I would say that if things are being forgotten, maybe it's a good thing. Like, not everything, single thing should be remembered. And I guess it's like, maybe it's like the World War thing. Like, if everybody would remember their ancestors, their fathers and so forth that died, and would remember it every single day, like every single day, and you would measure your Starbucks coffee by the amount of hours and days that your grandfather spent in the barracks or under threat of enemy fire. I don't know. Like, would you really want to live like this? Probably not. So it's hard to say that it's a bad thing that such horrible ways of human life were like forgotten. this is one of the bonuses, but we have children and they don't have the knowledge of the things that we experienced. In some ways they have some sort of byproducts of those events, but not these thoughts and memories themselves. So, and what was she fighting for? Like Clara Zetkin, what was she fighting for? She wanted women to have a chance to vote. Do they have that? I'm pretty sure that every single country has that right now. Maybe we would exclude like 5 or 10 from the bottom of the list. And I would imagine that this list actually expands as time goes on. And in the countries that it has happened, such as in Russia, for example, so women were granted the right to vote over 100 years ago in Russian Empire, it was even. So they won even back then with that, in that regard. Of course, we have the everyday things that happen, which I will not be going into in the stream, and some of those things are horrible, but it's complicated to speak about those. I guess these things should be talked about. I mean, the facts, how I'm not going to talk about that anyway. Not on this stream. It's a holiday, and it's another topic for another time. Today is the 1970 revolution revolt anniversary. Is that connected, Alex? Lenin made the trip from Switzerland, where he had been in exile, to take over the revolt. Took over from the Soviet Council, it was called then. The 1917 revolution. Yes, I'm pretty sure that those things are connected, and if we would read through this through the history of things, yes, it's considered the year that the revolution, the Great Revolution, started in Russia and Russian Empire. Anyway, yeah, so many things intertwined. It was very tough years. Like, wow. Literally tough years. I mean, if we would think about it, 1917, it was just a couple of years, I guess, about 2 years or something after a chemical reaction was invented to make fertilizer. So before that, people were literally starving to death, and it just began to, like, Germany had the patent for this technology, which I guess would have funded their First World War, and possibly the Second as well. in a way. But like an actual boom in population happened, and before it happened, people were not like producing less children. Way less children were able to survive because, well, not enough food simply. It's tough time. It was tough for everyone. Like like for literally people were surviving, and now things are a bit different. So and even still we have like these explosions of strange uh, I guess feminazi movements. So it's the best way to describe it. Catching up with the chat. Ben Burns, hi, hi, hi. Lala, hello, by the way. I missed your message. Russia's Women's Day is like Australia's Mother's Day. Yeah, it's Mother's Day and Women's Day as well. And so young women are being congratulated. Or not. I have no clue. Okay, I guess we're live. I'm sorry about that. Yes, thank you, internet, for working. It's a tough one. I'm actually using mobile internet, and it just, yeah. Balkan internet, sometimes the internet drinks too much and it's off the rails. Yeah, so true. Like I have this provider that is Yatel, and it's a mobile one. It's weird. It's really weird. Am I back? Everything all good? So what happens is that it would just like completely obliterate your internet traffic at some points, and at some points it would give you, like, it would bug somehow, like something weird would happen, and it would give you, once you're trying to buy a, like a, for example, 2 point, I had this thing, 2.65 gigabytes of internet I was buying for 280 dinar, and then I pressed the button and it said okay, and it didn't take the money off my account, and I had just exactly the amount. So I would, like, thought this is weird. I would press it again, it would say okay, and no money withdrawn. Once again, I pressed it like 5 or 6 times in a row. I had about 10 or 12 or 11 gigabytes, and I paid once. So, and at other times you would have like a couple of gigabytes left and it would just disappear. Like, it's so weird. Anyway, back in the saddle. Yes, Yes, once I move, I hope that I would get a better internet, because right now I still haven't moved. We're in the process, I guess. If everything plays out, I hope that we will get better internet and more stable one, and I wouldn't pay crazy amounts of money for it. Like it feels like I'm back at 2008 or 10 maybe. The speed and the cost of internet is so high. Anyway, back on the topic. So as I was reading this post, I guess, for this newspaper by Natalia Radulova, I would display it once I translate it. Can you translate? Thank you. So here it is. Somebody who's watching on the new later on might see it or stop. So I was reading it before that. So she says those things, right? And she's interested in why it's called Women's Day, and then she says about Clara Zetkin that she knew what it meant, that it's the day of solidarity of working women of the world, which is a fine idea. Especially at that time, it was vital, I would say. But after saying that wow, we all forgot that it's the day of that, and she would go on to saying that, oh, men actually did it. They took matters into their own hands. So they would buy women and give them compliments just to move their minds away from the fact that it was the day of solidarity of working women. And horrible man just took away this lovely and great and amazing and vitally important holiday from women as a whole. Like, I guess they sat in a room like the Illuminati or something. And it was written back in 2008, and it's in a quite popular, fairly popular magazine back at the time. So very little internet was present. People were still buying subscriptions for magazines, and she is pushing this idea that, wow, we're equal, and there's a whole day, and 100 years ago we were celebrating and it was important and so on. But evil men like took from unprepared and unknowing women this, like, it sounds as if she's breaking the first rule of the feminism, that we are equal. We're equal, and why would men want to do that? Like, you are placing all the pressure, all everything you have, like, on someone else. This is number one thing you don't do when you're trying to control your life and live your life to the fullest. then she goes on about speaking like that, telling stories that she can't talk with men through the fact that how she wants the house to be behaved in, I guess, that I don't know, like this sounds so weird. It just made me mad a bit. But yeah, anyway, because I personally, when I was a teenager, I guess I thought that I was, and I said that I am a feminist, I guess, in a way that women, in my opinion, should be and are treated as equals in a reasonable way, not like in every single way. Like if like basic things, if you have a broken car, you probably wouldn't go to a woman to talk about that. Like, what are the chances? I'm not saying that there are no women mechanics. Of course, there are women mechanics, but what is the percentage of that? What is the percentage of women that lay bricks? Women that, I don't know, paint the lines on the streets, you know, for the cars and other, for parking and so on. Like it's so little, and there is a reason why it's that way, and there is a reason why there are more women teachers and more medical workers women, and that's not because women are being oppressed among bricklayers or something like this. I don't know. Do women truly have equal rights in Russia? How is it culturally? So yes, this is one of those things I wanted to talk about, and my take on this is that women have equal rights in Russia, and they've had those for a very long time, and it is, and my feeling even before I did the research was because of the regime. I had some assumptions that it was possible because the propaganda of socialism was that everyone is equal, like literally, but that meant that everybody would work. Like women in Soviet countries work at YouTube is not receiving enough video. Yeah, so women in Soviet countries, in Soviet Russia, were equal for a long time. They worked at the same areas. They would what's the correct, like these production facilities. So they would work these machines and so on. And even now we can see so many of these monuments, and most of which were made for propaganda back at the day, to show this equality of men and women, and it would go into like really, I guess, dark places in many ways. So they would over equalize, I guess, because the difference exists, like on the physical level. And even though right now in the world I guess people are trying to disprove it just because they want to. There is difference in many ways, and women so they would go to the places where things would work out better for them in some ways. For example, men tend to work in places where it's hot and hard, physical hard work, and maybe even cold weather. Like, it's tough. But I've never seen any actual, like, documentally, yes, things that are forbidden for women than for men, or when for men are they okay. So there's barely any difference. Women can work any position, anytime. It was all my life. No difference has happened. And even though that it's a fact, the feminism movement that expanded in the USA actually came, I feel like it expanded in the USA in the last 10 to 15 years. It came into Russia once again, like a new wave of feminism. And yes, there are social things and situations that are important and have to be talked about and have to be fixed. But overall, this what I feel and what I see is that this story that has started back then 100 years ago, the women that had their needs back 100 years ago would have them met and over met, I would even say, today, like many times over. So yeah, in Russia I feel like things are fairly good, but there are social things that have to be worked out, and you can't really, I don't think you can just demonstrate to fix them, because most of these things happen from low, I don't know, I don't want to say like intelligence, but overall development of people that exists. I mean, the people live in broken families, and all of their relatives and people, their friends and everyone they know have very similar things happening, and so it becomes a norm. And okay, the camera is lagging for some reason. Excuse me. I will restart the camera, 1 second. Technology is fighting Okay, back online. Yeah. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. And those things have to be fixed that I was talking about, and on a different level. You can't really come into like as a government into the minds of people. You would like pressure something like a rule or something like this, I don't think it would work. I think it would make things worse. And to actually improve things as the way the things are right now in Russia, and they have to be improved with regards to women and women's rights and human rights as well, I guess, is possibly the first thing that should be fixed in Russia. Because so many basic things are not being met by people. It's culture, it's people's freedoms that have to be met before these things could heal themselves, because people live broken lives, and you can't really expect them to have, I mean, men to act badly towards men in Russia, and that's common. Of course, if that happens, you would expect that men would act badly towards women, and even women would act badly towards women, because this is how it expands. Like a mother starts acting horrible towards her daughter. That's the first thing that happens, and then she thinks that that's normal, and it goes on and on. And the same thing with men. The father acts badly towards his son. So those things, no revolution can fix that, unless, no. Okay, I might be I might be sued for these words. I won't say that. But anyway. Catching up with you guys. Maybe actually I know a lot of women that do men's job honestly. Honestly. Goes back to the shield maidens of old. Yeah. I actually know a happily married couple where the husband cooks and cleans the house and the woman likes mowing and doing the gardening. Yes, I actually know a couple where the husband cooks, and the woman doesn't know how to cook, possibly at all. Yeah, I know that one. So, yeah.
Что я знал, как готовить.
Uh-huh.
Мне нравится.
Karina says she knows how to cook, but she doesn't like it. Anyway. I'm dead, mom. Single parent to my wonderful 10-year-old daughter and 8-year-old son. Wow. How do you manage to do it? Like, this is a job well done. The first artist I met was a girl mechanic. After the technical school for mechanics, she went to the fine arts school. She makes art akin to Tracy Emin and drives monstrous bikes. I don't know who Tracy Emin is. I will Google it right now. Tracy Emin. Okay. So I see these em- emotional single color paintings. Yes, I will show. Yes, some of those I might get banned for showing. Oh, that's funny. Anyway, yes, this is art. Anyway, this is art, educational purposes only. As you can see, Tracy Emin. Yes, so that's it. No more. Yes, YouTube has weird policies about that. You get the general idea, I would presume. Yes, there are women who likes technical stuff, and it's perfectly fine, and I think this is how the world should be, and it is lucky for us. Like, women could go and learn these things, and the only way the social aspect of it all just keeps up is if women would go and do those things, and like feminists would say that, oh, they should go and don't fear that they would be judged. Like, every single person would and can fear that they would be judged. Like, this is why I was starting the YouTube channel. Was I fearful for that? Of course. Like, oh yeah. And I got quite a bit of messages, especially from the first video, which were considered hateful. This is how things are done. If you want something to be done, you go and do it, and you don't care what people like. If people would put you down for it, is it worth doing? Yeah, then do it. And lucky for us, by the law, we are not allowed to be like killed, at least, or something like this. But of course, like in Russia, exists those things that people would say this is not for a woman, and it starts from the family. All of those things, and you have to fix those things in your head, in your family first, before you try to get into others' families. I don't know. That's yeah, so I missed the chat a bit. What I like about Discord is we can do links and pictures in that chat room. Thanks to the last one. I don't want to break rules. Okay. What were you going to post? Can do links. Wiki page. Salon gatherings. What are salon gatherings? Lala. Some salon gathering in particular? Salon gathering. A gathering of people held by an inspiring host. During the gathering, they amuse one another and increase their knowledge through conversation. These gatherings often consciously followed by Horace's definition of the aims of poetry, either to please or to educate. Unfortunately, I don't know how to read Latin. Salons, in the tradition of the French literary And philosophical movements of the 17th and 18th centuries are still being carried out today. Yeah, I guess this is what's happening here. Interesting. My mom was a single mom. I admire single moms and dads. Yes, sometimes you just have to go different directions. Like the boat is going down. You don't have to go down with it, and especially your kids. But sometimes, of course, the unfortunate events happen, and someone passes away before his time, or mostly it's his time, I guess, if we would see the numbers. What I like about Discord. So you like the idea of Discord, huh? Technopho. I could. Yes, I don't have a moderator yet. The chat is too small for that. Possibly. I don't know. I think there is an option to add that. I'm not just exactly sure. I will check into that. This is interesting. Discord is fun. Was hold out, but use it every day. Anyway, so like they say in the movies, best job I ever had. I would imagine. I could only imagine how rewarding this possibly is. The movie Fury I was referencing. Yeah, the Fury where they are driving this tank. It's a nice movie. I like that. I feel sad for women in Afghanistan and Iran. They get treated horribly for the most part. Yeah, so this is one of those things that so many people don't talk about, is that of women in Iran, and like so many things happen there, and they are trying to get rid of their burqas, or how would you call those, and it's one of those things that they would want to have freedom to walk around, and literally women are being killed for that, like literally tortured and killed. And another thing, it's not like, oh, this single event, it's happening a lot over time, and it's shocking. And a couple of years ago, was I think 5 years or 4 years ago, possibly 5, I think, yeah, or 6. Anyway, what happened was a demonstration broke out, and it just shocked me, that in Iran they stopped the internet completely and just started mowing people down, like mowing down with machine guns and so on. Not with rubber bullets, by the way, just obliterating people. And people would come up with ways, like ingenious ways, to make up some device to connect to global internet without the country connected to it. Like everyday things would and go into play. And yeah, same about the same thing happened with the women's right that happened recently. It's shocking. And everyone would talk about Ukraine, and of course it's a topic to be discussed, but like like everyone forgot about Iran for some reason. Yeah. Unbelievable in this day and age. I was actually speaking to a friend from Turkey, and apparently in Turkey it is still possible to get like teenagers, like young teenagers, um, just children that just became teenagers, to be to marry them to older men, like way older. So they would get married ahead of time before their um, cycles even begin. And that is interesting. You know, it's a kind of like a European country. It's very close to Europe, and it's one of those things that is possible still in they like 9, 10, 11 years old, a daughter, and a guy would give away, I guess, his daughter for to a 50, 60-year-old guy who has money, basically. And you know, she has no opinion, like no effect on the outcome of the things. It's horrible. Yeah. Holiday, it's a perfect time to talk about horrible things. If you like animation, I'd recommend Persepolis and The Breadwinner regarding Iran and Afghanistan. Okay, Ben. Bye bye. Good day to you. See ya. See you around. Hello, Karina. Happy Women's Day.
Thank you so much. Hello to you.
She says thank you so much and hello to you, Baldrick's Turnip. And ironically, TVP World just dropped a post about Iranian woman 30 seconds ago. What's TVP post? TVP post. Post transavical prostatectomy. I don't think that's no. That's an operation. We're not. Polish women attain success thanks to their own merit, not quotas. Polish PM. Yeah. TVP World. I've never heard of it. .com. I will read that later on. Polish television show. Yeah. So, all in all, how things are. Yeah, there are definitely things that could go better in Russia with regards to women. But all in all, it's fairly good. I watched that and France 24 because American news suck. Why do you think American news suck? That's a question for you. Last one, 207. Because yeah, you answer first. I watch Sky News Australia. Yeah, I guess this whole idea or Ukrainian war topic is running out of its popularity. And things have to change, and now they're switching to this Iranian women. Like, I don't know. I watch Sky News Australia, other channels I don't trust anymore ever since COVID. Yeah, COVID is the one, another topic. Very, very harsh, I guess. Harshly defended and very controversial. Yeah, of course, this everyone is getting fatigued with this whole story. It's I guess this is when things would go interesting. They have to. American news is like hit and run. Accident, a couple of foolish comments, and leaves the scene. Yeah, this is crazy. It's so crazy. Like the Zoe's opinion, it's just shocking how propagandistic like everything is becoming for some reason. At least the European channels are much more in depth. I watch ABC in Australia, banned in a couple of African news outlets. Wow. Never watched any of those. I guess if you would want some outside opinion, you would go to Africa. Yes, Zoe. With the whole COVID, it's crazy. Like, wow. And so much people just united in this way of thinking. It's so crazy. And now, like, nothing happened. I don't know how it goes in America. I'm pretty sure that in most, at least, states, it's all lifted, as far as I know. In Australia, I don't actually know how things are going there. But in most of the world, it's non-existent. Like, in Russia, it was so that the war has begun. A couple of days passed, and all restrictions lifted. All restrictions. And this is what it was, a completely political move, like 100%. Because if people would live in this dread of COVID as well as the new fear of the war, things would go south 100%. And he knew that. Like, the guy knew that. So of course everything was lifted, and all of a sudden, like, no problems. Like, every single channel stopped this crazy information pumping into the heads of people that, oh my god, people are dying like everywhere, like everybody is in danger. Buy masks, which are just like, they are possibly even worse than pieces of fabric on your face. And I don't know, like, that's it. No more COVID. No one talks about it. Like, everybody started all of a sudden getting immunity, you know. Channels television in Nigeria is interesting sometimes. Yeah, definitely. It sounds interesting, alright. I had to keep quiet that I wasn't vaccinated. The main channels didn't show the protests in Europe. Yes. And the worst, I guess the worst, but I think it's the whole COVID situation is possibly one of the best things that could have happened, in my opinion, to the whole world. Like, the whole world. All of a sudden, you could see through people. Like, they would show themselves up, like how they are in this light of this event, this huge event that is, so they say, uncontrollable. And you see those people that you thought to be friends or something like this. You thought them to be smart and open-minded, and they would jump on this just train of hysteria. Like, nothing ever happened. Like, nothing before that happened. Like, they don't have this knowledge of that they would have gained throughout their life, of how things work, of like, I don't even get me started on the whole COVID. My dad was yelling at me about COVID when we talked about it. And he almost like never yells, possibly at all. He was going crazy, like calling me almost stupid and stuff like this. It's so interesting. It's such a little thing, like you twist the knob and people go wild. All of a sudden, the whole world. Australia had crazy rules about COVID. Yeah, I also heard somewhere, where was it? I don't remember, where was it? Some European country went like all in as well. Like, people weren't allowed to leave their homes if they weren't vaccinated. They were talking, or they actually, what was this country? I don't know. I'm gonna stop this. This actually deserves like a whole complete hours long stream to talk about COVID. Anyway, yeah, I will be ending the stream soon. I found out yesterday from a US doctor that people that didn't get a myocarditis from COVID. Now look what's happening. Really? You can get a strike? Oh well. I don't know. That's crazy. It's crazy. Ah. As American, I still can't send packages to Australia. I used to have a few Oceania clients before the you know what. Oh, not yesterday from yeah. I didn't watch the protest in Wellington, New Zealand, and the local police balked, and the Australian police was kept into the in to enforce the law. That blew my mind. What? Yeah, we are okay. That's for sure. So yes, women. Things are good for women. Women are good in general, and the things could be different in every family, and people should choose their partners and talk with their partners and set their boundaries and express themselves the way they want to, and in a way that wouldn't undermine other person's well-being, other person's self. Yeah. Women did a great job back 100 years ago. So huge respect to those that fought back then. It's an interesting move that happened, and it was possibly it was for the best. Thank you everybody for being here, for listening to me ramble, and thank you for sharing the knowledge. It was interesting once again to meet with you guys. I'm reading the chat, and I just opened the beer. Well, have a good evening, Karina and Alex. I hope Alex was behaving I hope Alex was behaving good today, Karina.
Yes, she was.
She was. Yes, she was. She says.
Sorry, it's my mistake.
Okay. She says all was good. I was a good boy. So, sleep well. Everything was fine. Thank you, Zoe. Thank you, Lala. Thank you, Last 1207. Thank you, Bold, Rick Sternip, and thank you to others that listening later on and currently listening to me and not talking in the chat. Anyway, thank you for liking, commenting, cheers. Best wishes. Happy International Women's Day. Happy New Year as well. Why not? um, nice. Always nice talking and not yet meeting with you, but I guess meeting you in some sense. Cheers, guys. До свидания. Ciao. Bye bye.